Welcome back to our GEMS project, and we are currently on day 6 of it. And today is an exciting day because we are no longer just brainstorming and practicing. Today we are starting our final gem. It's going to be big and beautiful and amazing, and I can't wait to see it. But first we need to learn a little bit more about symmetry. And I know we've already talked about symmetry, but it's been a while. And so we should probably do it again just so that it's fresh in our minds. So let's take a brief moment to learn a little bit more about symmetry. Now you see me, now you don't. Ooh, magic trick. And also, let's get to symmetry.
Hi everyone! Today we're going to learn about symmetry. Symmetry is a concept that is commonly found in math, especially geometry, but it is also often discussed in art and design. An object that has symmetry can be divided into identical pieces. When an object has symmetry, we say that it is symmetrical. When an object does not have symmetry, we say that it is asymmetrical. There are many different types of geometric symmetry, but today we are only going to talk about the simplest form, reflectional symmetry. An object or image that has reflectional symmetry is like a mirror image. If you were to draw an imaginary line down the center of a symmetrical object and fold it in half along that line, the shapes would match up. This imaginary line is called a line of symmetry. Some symmetrical objects only have one line of symmetry, while others have more. For example, this triangle only has one line of symmetry, straight down the middle, because if you try to divide it any other way, the pieces don't match up. This triangle, on the other hand, has 3 lines of symmetry. You could fold it here, here, or here, and each time the halves would be the same. A square has 4 lines of symmetry. You could divide it in half from left to right, top to bottom, or from corner to corner either way. Symmetry is often found in nature. One favorite example of this is a butterfly. When a butterfly folds its wings, it is easy to see that they are the same shape. Now that you know what symmetry means, see if you can find symmetrical objects near you. You may be surprised by how many things are symmetrical.
Fabulous. And guess what else might be symmetrical? Your gem. So let's get out the supplies that we need. We are going to need our white drawing paper, one of the pieces that came in our kits. We're going to need a pencil, just any old pencil will do. It doesn't have to be one of the fancy ones. A straight edge. I'll be using a ruler, but really any straight edge will work. It could be even like the edge of a folder or notebook. Anything with a straight edge qualifies as a straight edge. Fun fact. Anyway, another thing you might want to get out that seems maybe kind of strange, like a bowl or a plate or something round but like big, something that would fill up almost an entire piece of paper if you were to trace it on there, because you might choose to trace it onto your paper. It depends on what gem you're doing, and it depends on what angle you're doing. But for example, let me just switch my view here for you. For example, my gem that I have here, you can see that is a top-down view of a gem. Maybe it's a diamond, maybe it's a amethyst. I don't know, because I haven't started coloring it in yet, but it is a top-down view. Actually, this one I did start coloring in, and you can see it's kind of more like that amethyst kind of coloring. I don't know. It's kind of a beautiful purple. But So anyway, if you're thinking you want to do like a top-down circular shape, having something like a bowl or a plate would come in handy. And you want to make sure it's nice and big, because regardless of what shape you're doing and what kind of gem you're doing, it does need to fill at least 75% of your paper. So that means over half, like half over half, right? So 75 to, like, let's say, I mean, it's not going to fill 100% of your paper unless you're doing a rectangular shaped gem, which you could. I mean, right, there are definitely cuts that are rectangular shaped. So I suppose it could be 100% of your paper. But I would say most of them are like 75 to 90% of the paper is taken up with the gem itself. So if you are going with that method where you're going to do the circle, just make sure that that bowl or plate or whatever you're choosing is big enough that it's taking up, you know, that portion of your paper. Now, I've had some students ask me in the past, like, well, can we just color this in? And the answer to that is no, you didn't draw it. But that being said, if you really like this shape, you're like that, but that's like literally the shape of the gem that I want. Cool, redraw it. Just maybe draw it a little bit bigger than this. I would say, and that's probably at what, like 60%, 65% of your paper. So maybe just a little bit bigger, but you can use that as inspiration. What else can we use for inspiration, you may be wondering at this very moment? And well, I'll share that with you. So first and foremost, there is no singular demonstration from here out, really. I mean, I'll show you stuff, but it's not like yours has to match mine. Because you're probably going to choose a different gem and different colors, and it's, you get to choose. So anyway, you're going to see in here that there's lots of different things for you to choose from. So for example, if I click on the picture of all the different gemstones, it's going to take me to this presentation in here, and I can see just like a whole bunch of different gemstones in here. So this is going to kind of show me, I mean, obviously these are all the same color, but it's going to show me like how to draw it exactly, and according to like what angle I'm looking at it from. So for example, actually this one right up above here, let me make myself a little bit, I'm gonna go for a little ride here, or I guess the gems are going for a little ride. There we go. So this one right here actually looks very similar to this, doesn't it? Like a little bit less rounded, but anyway, so I can see what it looks like colored in. Underneath it, I can see what it looks like from the side view. Right next to it in the upper right hand corner, I can see the top view. So if I were to look at it from the top down, that bird's eye view. And then this one right here that I'm almost touching, that's going to be from the bottom view. So all of these gems here are going to have, you know, all those different things: top view, side view, bottom view, and colored in. Now you only need to choose one view. So you'll choose your favorite view, choose your favorite gem. But here's some examples that you could use as inspiration. And then some of these two kind of, you know, are just a little bit more zoomed in. So feel free to scroll through this slideshow. Then further down in the slideshow, you're also going to see where it's like, okay, so if I'm going to do this one, I can kind of do like these steps, and it'll kind of show you like step by step how to make it. I shouldn't say step by step, but it does kind of break it down a little bit more. You wouldn't want yours to be quite this simple. Those are pretty simple. So you'd want more facets or lines in your drawing for your final one. But this could be a nice start for how to get there. What we don't really want is anything like this. We do want symmetry. And of course, if you were to find gems like in the wild, like if you've ever gone panning before for rocks and gems and things like that, they're not going to be perfectly cut and symmetrical, right? That is a human thing that we have done to those gems. They're going to look more like this when you find them, but that's not what we're going for in this project. We are going for symmetry and, you know, radial symmetry or vertical symmetry, or like that singular line of symmetry. So this is more like what we're going for. Now, if you're liking this and you're like, ooh, lines, and I like that shape. Heads up, this demo is linked as well in our slides. And if you start at 2 minutes and 55 seconds in, that's going to be like where to get how to draw it. So basically our goal is going to be to draw it today, not color. No to this. This is next class. So we want our gem drawn. We want those lines light. So when you see this one here, and you can see that it's got like Sharpie all around it, don't do that. The only reason I had it like this is because I want you to be able to see it well on this camera. Okay, same with this. Like this, that would be bad. You want yours to look more like this. Do you see how lightly that's drawn? It's going to be very easy for me to erase those lines because we want it, when we start coloring it in, we want those lines to essentially disappear because, let's go back to this view, because we actually want it to look like a gem, right? And now these, obviously, they're a little exaggerated with the white in between, but like, it does make it look more realistic, and it makes it look more like it's kind of glowing or not glowing, shiny, I guess. And that's what we're going for. So that being said, hopefully you guys know that even though we've given you some different examples, there we go, get on out of there, some different examples of what yours could look like, you can absolutely still type into like YouTube or somewhere and say like, how to draw a princess cut gem. And I'm sure there's going to be tutorials, whether they are like just drawn ones or video demonstrations. So basically my parameter is it has to take up at least 75% of your paper. Draw those lines lightly. It must be symmetrical, and we're going to want to have it drawn before next class so that we can start coloring it in next class. And of course you're going to get to choose what color too. But that's what we're looking for out of you today. You can choose what angle it's at, all that fun stuff. So get those things done. If you aren't sure yet and you want to do a little bit more brainstorming and you want to look up different cuts and types of gems and you want to do that some more, absolutely go ahead and do that. But once again, your goal before we see each other again in our next class is to have something like this, but with very, very light drawn lines so that we can easily erase them and make it look more realistic. All right? Okay, have fun. We'll see you guys next time.